Hey everybody, Christopher Odd here. I recently got the opportunity to take a short little flight over to London to try the upcoming Metro Awakening game. And I'm obviously eager to show you a whole bunch of gameplay and do a playthrough from beginning to end, but I need to wait until a little bit closer to release for that. You know how embargoes work, yada yada. But I did have some thoughts I wanted to share, so I wrote them down on the flight home and wanted to examine them a little bit deeper in this video. Vertigo Games was kind enough to bring me out to London and to sponsor this video, so thank you so much to them for doing that. And thanks to them, I'm able to share some of this early stuff with you guys. So I wanted to cover three specific things in today's video. Naturally, I am going to reference some of the earlier games, so there might be some spoilers there. First, we're going to take a look at the game's protagonist. This is Serdar, or as you probably know him, Khan. Second, we're going to talk about how I feel Metro Awakening fits into the wider Metro world or universe. And third, we'll talk about why I feel Metro Awakening is a good jumping off point for new people, why I feel like Metro Awakening fits as a VR experience, and I feel like it's more than just a prequel. So with that, I'm going to recommend that we set the vibe. And if you don't know what that means, it's lights off, headphones on, volume up. Just let yourself settle into this one. This is Metro Awakening. So in the original Metro games, Khan was always a bit of a stranger dude. I believe some reference that he was a prophet of sorts. Regardless, it felt like he always knew something that everyone else didn't. And he's not just some random companion for Artyom, if you're unaware. He understands the Metro in ways that others can't. Khan would often speak of the Metro as this living, breathing entity, something that was essentially haunted by ghosts or supernatural forces. And if you've played Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light, then you're going to know that Khan has this almost spiritual connection to the tunnels. He says things like, "You reap what you sow, Artyom. Force answers force, war breeds war, and death only brings death. To break this vicious cycle, one must do more than just act without any thought or doubt." And if you look up online to see what people say about Khan, it ranges from anywhere of just being like this crazy dude in the tunnels to like Apocalypse Gandalf. He runs the gamut, and he is a character that is beloved by most of the people who have played the Metro games. And that's sort of where Metro Awakening comes in. We're gonna learn how Khan became this sort of mystic being. We play as Serdar, a doctor, but more importantly, we're gonna see how Serdar becomes Khan. It's more about his spiritual transformation, because he wasn't always the way that we saw him in the earlier games. So unlike previous Metro games, Awakening isn't just a survival game. And I shouldn't say that those other games are just a survival game, but the survival elements were front and center. You're going to definitely run into mutants in Awakening. You're going to run into hostile attacks, but this is about way more than that from like a lore perspective. It's much more about understanding the deeper forces that are at play in the Metro. And if you recall some of the early creepy moments from 2033, when Artyom would see ghosts or hear whispers in the tunnels, it's those type of moments that Metro Awakening is going to explore a lot more. Serdar's journey is focused on finding his wife. And of course, he does have to survive in the Metro in order to do so. But it's way more, again, about confronting the dark and spiritual forces in the Metro that we don't really have good answers to yet. As I referenced earlier, Khan always gave the impression that he kind of sees things and feels things that others can't. And I think Metro Awakening is going to give us a lot of those answers as to how he developed that ability. And that's something I'm personally very keen on. I'm also hoping that we get some answers about some of the questions brought up way back in 2033 when Khan would talk about these echoes, like ghosts of those who died in the tunnels, or the anomalies, which are the little flashes of, I guess, energy that we would see. Here's a weird one for you. It's just a thought. But is it possible that the Metro is in fact alive, for lack of a better term? Could it be more than just tunnels? And I'm gonna go a little deeper here, so stay with me, but what if it served as a sort of purgatory of sorts? And the tunnels actually represent the path between life and death. I'm not a huge spiritual guy myself, but Khan is. And so, being that we're getting a story so focused on him, I don't think things like this are out of the realm of possibility to explore. I don't know the answer to this, but this is just me kind of speculating. Maybe I am going too far off the rails, no pun intended, but I'd certainly like to get some of these answers in Metro Awakening. I think it's possible. Now, since we're exploring Serdar's transformation into Khan, naturally, Metro Awakening has taken place before we ran into Khan in Metro 2033. I think some purists are going to argue that perhaps you should play the other games first, and I'm not going to say that they're wrong, because there are going to be references in Awakening that only those who have played the earlier games will understand. But I think there's at least a good argument to be made. This is a great jumping off point for new people to the series as well. Because it's a prequel, it's designed in a way that assumes you don't have any knowledge of the previous games, and it can stand on its own as a self-contained title in that sense. But, personally, because I love this world so much, I'd be shocked if you played through Metro Awakening and then you didn't want to go and play the other games afterwards. In fact, I'm a little bit jealous if you are going to take that route. If you haven't played the Metro games up to this point and you start with Awakening, I think that'd be a really unique experience. If that's something that you're doing, I'd be very keen to hear about that journey and what that felt like, because we've all experienced Metro in a certain way, and if this is your first time going in, that's pretty cool in my opinion. In terms of the VR aspect of this, I will tell you, as soon as I put on the headset and I got my wits about me, it just clicked as to how perfect this world is in a VR setting. Like, I've got limited VR experience. I've played through a popular AAA title in the past, and I've dabbled in a bunch of, rhythm games and other tech demo experience type things, but I can assure you that, like, this is a proper game. And when VR has been growing over the past few years, everybody's waiting for, like, when I need more content, I need more games, and I'll tell you, like, this is a proper game. Now, a little bit of a side note here, I know that VR can be a bit intimidating to get into, from both, a setup perspective, but also a cost perspective. And I will say, I would encourage you to look at maybe snagging a headset secondhand if you're interested in trying this. The prices are super low, and most people that are selling those headsets are selling them because they've only used them a couple times. So you could find a really good deals out there. It's just a little bit of food for thought, because I want you guys to experience this world in VR, because it is incredibly unique. In terms of translating the original game experiences and mechanics into VR, I think they've nailed it. For those unaware, Metro has never been a fast-paced shooter. It's a lot more methodical. There's stealth, there's ammo management, there's a bunch of weapons that you need to manage and use depending on the scenario. And in a VR setting, this feels incredibly good, but more importantly, it's really just fun to do. You have to reload your guns. It requires ejecting the mag, you grab another one, you insert it into the gun, and then you cock it. If you're using your flashlight, it means you got to pull off your backpack, you have to grab the flashlight from the side, manually crank the handle to charge it up. Changing weapons, you got to pull off the backpack, choose the weapon, put the backpack back. Like, it's cool, and that sounds, okay, yeah, great. If you've played VR, that's great, you understand that. But if you haven't played VR, this is a whole new experience. And then you layer that on to a bunch of mutants or like other hostiles just running at you, and you're in this kind of panic scenario. It's a blast. There will be some sweat involved, but it's such a blast to be doing that in high pressure scenarios. It's really, really intense. I hope this has given you at least a brief understanding of what Metro Awakening is and how it fits into the larger Metro world. I'll be back with more gameplay, as I mentioned earlier, so if you're interested in watching a playthrough, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell to be notified when that goes live. If you have any other questions or thoughts, I'd love to hear them down below, and we can just let the speculations flow. From my understanding as well, the main studio working on the Metro franchise is still working on the 4th installment of traditional Metro, so this is not replacing that. This is a standalone experience that fits into that world as a prequel and side story. So you don't have to worry too much about that. You're not gonna have to wait too long to get your hands on Metro Awakening either. It's releasing on November 7th, and if you follow the links down below, you'll see where you can pre-order it to be able to get access 2 days earlier if that's your jam. Check out the links down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.